Do you have anything positive at all to say to the whites of this country, the 10% that makes up the white population?
Well, they are part of South Africa. This is their country, and many of them have demonstrated their love for this country. Many of them want to contribute to the positive development of this country.
When they're all racists, for instance.
I've never said that. I've never said that. Of course, if you were to refer me to a specific report so that I can respond to a specific article, I don't know of such an article. All I said is that we want a country where we're all equal. My fighting for black people does not mean the oppression of white people. I'm fighting to liberate black people so that they can be at the same level with white people.
Well, what about
and we don't see each other as white and black, but we see each other as human beings.
What about the language of incitement then? Where does that fit into that paradigm? Because as you said this weekend, you said whites are the real enemy. They've stolen the land. We'll steal it back. You said also that black people, just a few days ago, should have more babies so that they can keep up their majority over the white people. This is not inclusive language, is it?
No. The people who took our land is white people. When we say we want our land, we don't want it from the sky. We want it from white people. So that's why we're saying we want our land from them. They've taken our land, and they've taken our land through a black genocide. Secondly, when I say black people must reproduce for sustainability of our ideas, it doesn't mean white people must not reproduce. If they want to reproduce, they are free to do that. All I'm saying to our people is that we are fighting for economic freedom. And for these ideas to be sustainable, we have to reproduce ourselves. Because the reproduction of ourselves means reproduction of our ideas. We are guaranteed longevity. They are standing on our way to crushing white monopoly capital, which has stolen our land, which controls the wealth of our country. And as we are in the process of crushing the white monopoly capital, there will be some of these irritations that we have to deal with. Irritation, the ANC represents such an irritation.
Now, the quest of freedom has been an enduring narrative throughout history, often intertwined with the fight for equality for the black community in Africa, in South Africa, and in the African diaspora, particularly in the context. Now, this video is dealing with the context of South Africa. The struggle for freedom has been both poignant and complex, you know. In South Africa, we have the 90%, which is the black people. Then we have the 10%, which is the white people. Of course, in these 90%, we also have some Indians, but they won't add up to more than 10%. So we can say that 80% of Africans, of South Africans are black people. So we have the minority 10% white people and 10% the Indians who came from India. They are called the Dravidians, if there's something like that. So the pivotal question arises, you know, does fighting for the rights of black people necessitate the oppression of the white minority? In as much as black people, we are fighting for the rights of ourselves, we should also respect the rights of the white people.
We're not scared to fight. We'll fight.
Lest we find ourselves charged with misinterpreting your words. Yeah. When you say you are willing to take up arms.
Yeah.
That's what you said.
Literally. Literally.
Against the government.
Yeah. Literally. I mean it literally. We were not scared. We're not going to have a government that disrespects the.
And on what basis? What are the circumstances in which you can imagine?
If they respond violently, if they respond violently to our peaceful protest,
you envisage reacting in self-defense.
We are a very peaceful organization. Yes. We fight our battles through peaceful means, through the courts, through parliament, through mass mobilization. We do that peacefully. But at times, government gets tempted to respond to such with violence. Yeah. They beat us up in parliament.
And there's a long history of that.
And they send soldiers to places like Alexander where people are protesting and will run out of patience very soon. And will remove this government through a barrel of a gun.
Tell me a little bit more about the policies of the EFF to bring about this defeat of white monopoly capital?
Well, we are representing nationalization of mines. We believe that the state must own the mines and use the proceeds from the mines to finance the social program of government. We are for expropriation of land without compensation because the land was taken by force and through committing of black genocide. We are for free quality education, healthcare, and big and spacious houses. We are an anti-corruption organization which believes that those who are elected to represent our people should be held accountable. We want to build the state capacity to destroy the tendering system which has corrupted South Africa. Those are amongst the key 7 cardinal pillars of the EFF.
It's a sort of version of communism, isn't it? Something like that?
No, it's socialism. We are unashamedly a socialist organization.
It doesn't have a great record of success, this form of government in history, or really much of a record of success at all, does it?
It does. China is one example of the success of a socialist state. Cuba is one of the example of the success of a communist state. And they did very well under very difficult conditions of economic embargo imposed on them by America. You can imagine that if Cuba was allowed to trade with anyone they wished to trade with, they would have done far much better.
I've heard more than one economist, and one reads many things about economists, speaking with concern, saying that if your economic agenda, the agenda of the EFF, were to be implemented in this country, it would become an economic basket case overnight. Already the IMF has just downgraded the 2016 GDP forecast for this country, 0.6%. That's very, very small indeed. The ratings agencies are on the verge of downgrading South Africa's bond status to junk. I mean, is this the right time to be making these sorts of pronouncements? Is that responsible, do you think?
They are not downgraded under a socialist state. They are downgraded under a capitalist state. Capitalism is failing. That's why the IMF, the World Bank, and rating agencies are downgrading a capitalist economy. So you cannot use that to want to argue that socialism cannot succeed in South Africa.
So you don't think we are being at a point frozen out of international markets, putting off international investors?
We are at a point when an alternative should be introduced, because that which you are pointing at, trying to vulgarize socialism, is clear evidence of a failure of a capitalist system.
Socialism, but what I'm suggesting is
don't personalize things. Me and you are having a conversation, we are quoting. You're saying I'm not talking about you. You are quoting economist, and I'm saying that which you are quoting, because it's you who's making the quote. That which you are quoting is a clear evidence of a capitalist system failing. South Africa is under capitalism.
But what you are suggesting by saying this is that South Africa can exist perfectly well outside of the international structures of finance, outside of international investment. You don't need it here. If you put them all off, you'll be just fine.
Who said under socialist state there's no foreign investment? Because there is a foreign investment.
I'm suggesting they might not want to put their money here if they think that there is expropriation without compensation, if they think that their businesses will be nationalized.
No, there will be a direct foreign investment in South Africa, because direct foreign investment, it depends on the stability of a country.
How do you reassure the foreign investors?
No, you must give me a chance to speak, unless you want to have this interview with yourself. Then we can give you a chance to speak alone.
Okay.
Because you're asking me questions, I'm responding to them, and that's the whole intention of this conversation. So we are going to ensure that we take control of our own economy. We're going to ensure that we take control of our own land, and those who want to invest in our country, they're going to do so through our own terms. Their businesses will be safe for as long as they will help to grow the economy of South Africa. If they want a piece of land, they will get that piece of land, but they will not own it. They will lease that piece of land for whatever years they so require to lease the piece of land, as long as that is aiming at creating jobs and growing the South African economy. And there will be a stable government. Their investment will be 100% protected. And there is no blood in South Africa. There is no civil war in South Africa. It's just a change of political system.
Local elections are coming up shortly in just a few months' time.
We should also fight for the rights, or we should preserve, or we should respect the rights of the minority. In the case with South Africa, the minority are the white people. And then also we have the Indians. So in as much as black people are fighting for their rights, we should respect the rights of the minority, because in some other countries, the black people are the minority. Countries like USA, countries like London, countries like those Japanese country, the Asian country, Japan, South Korea. We also have some people there, and they are very few. So in any time they are fighting for their own rights, the locals are fighting for their own rights, they should try and necessitate equality for the white minority. In the tapestry of freedom fighting, the importance of equality becomes a guiding principle. The struggle of freedom gains its true essence when it transcends the boundaries of one community and embraces the universal truth that all humans share equal intrinsic values. You know, in the case of black community, advocating for the rights is not a call for dominance. Advocating for the rights is not a call for dominance, but a plea for recognition. People have to be recognized. I could notice that the white person thought that Malema was about to, or was oppressing already the white minority, in this case in South Africa. But that's not the case. Advocating for the rights is not a call of dominance, but a plea for recognition, for equal rights and justice. For equal rights and justice. In South Africa, let's take for instance, Malema always sing the Malema song. Yeah? The freedom fighters, it's sung in Zulu. But I can tell that this is a freedom fighting song. It is not a song that was started with Mandela. It's a song that has been there. Malema, it's a song that has been there through generations. It's a folk song. It's a folklore. Nobody owns a folklore. Nobody owns a song. Nobody owns a tradition. We inherited the tradition. So I'm thinking that Malema singing the song of the EFF is not a warning sign that white people in South Africa should be worried about, or any white person any place in the world should be worried about. This song is a song of tradition. It's a traditional Zulu song. It's like we can't take English fairy tales from the English culture. It's part of them. It's what makes them who they are. So these white minority should not fear of these songs. However, they should fear of the action. They should fear of the actions that comes from these songs, not the song only. Remember, even when a toothless dog barks, you shouldn't be worried. Be worried of the teeth. Don't be worried of the sound. Okay? So Julius Malema is a prominent figure in the fight for black rights in South Africa. Asserted that championing the cause of black people does not equate to the oppression of the white minority. He said this. He really said this. This statement echoes the fundamental understanding that equality is not a finite resource. Empowering one community does not diminish the right or humanity of another, you know. It underscores the interconnectedness of humanity, emphasizing that we all stand on the same moral ground. When judged, the judge will use the same law. There is no special law for black people. There is no special law for white people. We don't have such a thing. Also, respecting other communities even when addressing historical injustices is an integral part of fostering harmony and understanding. True freedom is not achieved through the subjugation of any group, but through a collective effort to dismantle systematic inequalities. Embracing diversity enriches the fabric of society, you know. Acknowledging the shared humanity across communities paves the way for genuine progress. I think the main point you should carry home today is that fighting for justice, fighting for equality does not make the person who is fighting for the equality more dominant than the other person, as I told you before. That's not the case. It should not be the case. and also it should not necessitate the oppression of the minority. The minority can be black, the minority can be white, the minority can be any culture. So anybody who is watching this video, my subscribers and also not my subscribers, because not all of you subscribe and you watch a lot, just take this home, okay? Respecting other communities when even when addressing historical injustices is an integral part of fostering harmony and understanding. True freedom is not achieved through the subjugation of any group, but through a collective effort to dismantle systematic inequalities. You know, embracing diversity enriches the fabric of society, and acknowledging the shared humanity across community paves the way for genuine progress. In the broader picture now, freedom fighting is not a zero-sum game. It is not about replacing one form of oppression with another, but rather dismantling the structure that perpetuate inequality. In South Africa, the structures that perpetuate inequality is the apartheid structure. In as much as people might say that apartheid is long gone, no, we are still feeling the effects of apartheid in South Africa. It is still active. And also, one person in my comment section told me that we also have reverse apartheid. I don't know what reverse apartheid is, but I might think that reverse apartheid is the reverse of what has been happening, but it still exists whatsoever. What we know and what I know and what the world knows is that apartheid was done against the black people in South Africa. Julius Malema's song for inequality is trying to dismantle the systems of inequality in South Africa. It is not a form of dominating another culture and necessitating their oppression. This is one thing that this journalist, the journalist had to understand. You know, if you've done so much wrong things and the person whom you've done the wrong to comes to being enlightened, it's always very bad for the person who was being oppressed. I'll use a simple English. One time when the chicken come home to roost, it will break loose. Things will break loose. And so let's conclude the video, you know. In conclusion, or rather to conclude, the importance of inequality in the context of freedom fighting for the black community goes beyond a mere aspiration. It is a fundamental tenet that breathes life into the very essence of the struggle. Julius Malema's assertion that advocating for black rights does not entail the oppression of the white minority underscores the universal truth that we are all humans, you know. We are all humans, yes, who are deserving of equal respect and dignity. In our pursuit of freedom, let us not forget that true liberation encompasses the rights and dignity of all, transcending the boundaries that may seek to divide us. Fighting for human rights, fighting for black rights, fighting for white rights does not make the people who are fighting more dominant than the others. It's a system of breaking, it's a way of breaking the systems of oppression. Take that home. And kindly do subscribe to the channel. It really helps your boy a lot. It really helps me a lot. So do subscribe to the channel. Yeah. So, one of the methods that the oppressor or the colonizer used to colonize Africans and take Africans from African continent to the Americas was the policy of divide and conquer. Divide and conquer took many schemes, it took many methods. One of the methods of the divide and conquer was making Africans fight each other and make them not appreciate one another. Why am I saying this? You're about to know. An African sister, phenotypically African, physically African, same hair, same texture, was able to say, and she was able to wipe out the entire African continent, saying that black people were never there in the United States, that black people